When it comes to drums, I believe we are in the best time ever to achieve a fat drum sound. And the reason for this is that you don't have to record Phil or Bill anymore in a garage, and you don't have to put up with his stories about how he almost made it. Lies, you can go find sound design companies that do a good job, and you can get good samples that all you really have to do is dictate a little bit and push them, achieve the fat sound in your song. First thing we must talk about is the CREST Factor of drums. So here we have a clap. I want you guys to look at the clap, and I want you guys to tell me what you see. That one right there. Now there's two points of information. We have a dark green, then we have the bright green. The dark green tells us the peak level, and the bright green tells us the RMS, the average loudness. Now, I was in an audiophile forum, and there was these guys comparing their CREST factors. And at first, I was like, is this lingo for something? Am I in the right audiophile forum or the point? The smaller that difference is, it's going to be loud. But this is where it gets kind of stupid though, but because of the lingo. But all you really have to know is style of music in the modern world. Most stuff like is fucking so the way that you're gonna lower the CREST factor, make the peak get closer to again the average loudness, better than a Pepsi ever could, is by using a saturator like so here and pushing it. Now I want you guys to hear what happens to the clap as we go to the right, and also look at it. We're gonna turn on the soft clip now. Look at that. It's the same volume. But which one is popping out more in this damn beat? And again, I'm not here teaching you guys fancy plugins or anything. I'm just pushing the drive knob on the saturator. So we use that to push and lower the CREST factor. Now, with the addition of the clip that I added, we're pretty much kind of turning this into a limiter in a sense, but it's not a limiter. Again, people are going to clarify in the chat. I already know this. But what I know is this. The limiter doesn't discriminate on perceived loudness. It discriminates on data, because all the limiter cares about is the data and the AI beaches. Limiter will see the clap, and it's not gonna care. Look at that. I turned that off. It doesn't care if it's louder, the clap. But this clap is already getting smacked by the limiter, but it doesn't sound as loud as the saturator one that's not getting smacked. But also look at what's going on to the tip. The tip is getting wider and girdier, better than the rhino pills they saw in the bathroom. This thing's working better. Obviously, what you can see is you're losing part of that transient, okay? But the question is, do we perceive the transient? Is it in our benefit to have that transient? And a lot of the times, again, you're gonna have people like dynamics and oh my back. And some of you guys are already going like, man, this is what I've been waiting for. I level my clap and I just can't get it to sit right in the mix ever. It sounds too quiet or it sounds too loud. None of that. It's just gate kept. Saturation, it's just gate kept. That's all. And I'm here to ungate-keep it like fucking Gandalf. Okay, cool. So we got our clap. Now, the next question I received from someone was, how can I level my clap? A lot of people like when I give them very exact answers, because there's too much of like, oh, you fucking here's cute. No, exact answers. So there are processes that we can use to get the kick and the clap to sound somewhat decent together. The first thing is, assuming that you haven't processed the clap, we want to grab our kick and we want to anchor it at 6. Now the sum, or again, these guys come together to give you the master volume. They add up. We don't want it to go above 60 dB too much. So I'm bringing this up until somewhere where it sounds good to my ears, and we're not pushing that meter too high up. Now, when it comes to open hats, it's almost the exact same thing. Now, the only thing you got to keep in mind is as we go from a clap, we go from 2K up, and then we go to open hat, which obviously it's more high frequency based. And it's that simple. The same things applied. We do have a CREST factor. We have the peak. We have the average loudness. We want to bridge that gap better than a Pepsi. So we're going to use a saturator on this with a soft clip on. From there, I want to bring back some of that smack. So I reshape using a transient shaper. Same volume. Sounds better. Now, a transient shaper is pretty much going to shape the drum. That's it. How does it do it? Who the fuck cares? All we care about is that when I bring this attack up, it smacks harder, okay? It shapes the drum so for the transient to be more apparent. The sustain is usually going to be the tail part of the open hat or any drum. So for example, the attack portion is going to be this. Okay. Now there's a saying, I was reading this book, Your Brain on Music or something. It's saying that when you have a transient from, let's say, a piano or a violin, people can't tell you what instrument it is until they hear the body, the tail of it. Okay, so in theory, you could do a lot of mad things in sound design with that information, but it's the same thing here. Then we have the sustain part of the open hat, which is gonna give the release of that tail. It's gonna provide more sustain for the drum. That's why the open hat is so amazing, because it can fill up the mix really well when allowed to. Okay, so that's what we use the transient shaper for. Again, with the saturator on the clap, you guys saw how it got more rounded. So we're kind of unrounding it again with the transient shaper. So pretty much it's like this. We have the saturator where we're adding all the good shit to the open hat. And then from there, I'm going like, okay, I got the good shit. Now I'm going to jam and I'm going to go back to my old ways or something, back to where we were at in terms of punch, but was still maintaining that juiciness that we get. And they're leveling the open hat is important as well, because level plays a huge role in whether drums are fat or not. Steve Duda, one of the guys that created Syrup, he always said, I can get a better mix than most people by just volume alone. And that is because you guys are cats when it comes to leveling. You're scared, okay? So make sure you're leveling properly. Now, this is how I teach people to level the open hat. You span. Okay, now, when you have your kick and bass going, doesn't matter if you have a master or not. All you care about is the correlation between your low end and your high frequencies, and that's it. That's all you care about. Who cares? Is it mastered or not? Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's the correlation between this and this. You can see the clap here. Look, bah, bah. Perfecto, right there, straight across. We're gonna do this to all the drums because literally this whole video is gonna be me putting saturation like a dummy on drums and like leveling. Because I'm gonna show you guys the close hat. Which again is the same exact thing. Okay, and the tambourine is also getting saturated. And again, it's gonna be a little quieter because I think I was being a little cat. You know what I mean with that. Let's bring it up. I'm hearing at a low volume just so I can talk over the audio, but it sounds good. Maybe a little too much. Let's ease up, and there we go. We're gonna go against the holistic mixing engineer that says don't cut anything below a certain amount because it adds to it. Nah, fuck that fool. You're gonna cut. Okay, and the reason for that is that when you saturate, saturation does not discriminate on frequency. It doesn't care. It's gonna add harmonic frequencies going up and going down. So if you have claps and open hats, look at all the info that is being built down here. All of that. I personally believe you don't need it, so we cut that out, okay? And you're gonna do that on the bus. And if you don't know how to make a bus, you're gonna hold Command. You're gonna click on all your drums, and you're gonna hold Command G, Control G, and that's gonna make a bus where all your drums are gonna go into, and you're pretty much gonna hit them with some stuff to make them sound fatter. Now, and the way we can do that is one, you can compress them together, which is what we would call like bus compression. And now in my 10 professional years, aka I'm getting paid supporting a family with this, I've seen it all. I've seen producers do this, bring this up, like even with releases on some big labels and say, I like it like this. And there's this thing called parallel compression, and I usually teach it to these guys. The reason for it is that what they like from that, what we just heard, is the fact that you can hear the drums in a different light. There's more sustain to the drum. There's more tail to the drum, okay? That's the simplest putting. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it for the newbies. What you're gonna do is you're gonna create an audio effect rack by going audio effect rack, and we're gonna do a Leonardo DiCaprio. That means that we're just gonna create a channel within a channel. List mode by clicking here, right click, create chain, right click, create chain. We're gonna make a parallel. Just call it that, or you can call it drum, bacon breather, drum breather. I don't know, whatever you feel is right. And from there, we're gonna put a glue and do the same thing. Literally, just do the same thing. But no, there's some theory to this. You're gonna put your release at 1.2. You're gonna lower the attack all the way down. Your ratio can go up to 10. You're gonna pull. Now, as we hear the drums, hear what we are getting from this. This is a layer. Think of it as a layer for your drums. Your drums are going to be sounding good. We saturated them. We're not going to do this to the drums and say, that's it. No, we want to get that sustain out of the drum. That's why we do this. Then we're going to level it together. Notice how like there's this lift that occurs, and that's because the drums are just getting fuller. Because we're adding, you guys just saw a 31-year-old man go on a rant about saturation and just push a drive up and make it look so easy, and it is that easy, okay? It is that easy to get your drums to smack and sound good. Good sample selection, understand the CREST Factor, push with the saturation. But there's one more thing I must talk about, because this is what usually ruins it for most people. Your drums are only going to sound fat. They're only going to smack. They're only going to sound present if you allow it, if the song allows for it, okay? And I'm going to prove it to you, because this is what a lot of people do, is that they will have a track where they want the drums to smack, but then they put too many sounds that invade the space of the drums, the crucial drums to be more exact. I'm going to invade the space of the clap. Does the clap smack? Anymore? No, because you lose the perception of it. Let's do the open at. Oh, there you go. That's gone. Okay, anyways, this is like a very extreme case, right? But this is what happens when you guys have like super saw sounds, when you have reverb, when you have stuff that clouds the tops. Like it destroys your integrity of your drums, and then you wonder why they don't sound good, because you're not respecting them. You're not respecting them. My camera's about to die, so I'm going to end the video here. Of course, there is a lot more to getting your drums to sound fat. When it comes to the saturation we were using, once you get tired of the Ableton stuff, after you get tired of that moving like, all you need is Ableton, then you're going to move on to third-party plugins that give you a different flavor. We can only cook so much steak with salt and pepper seasoning until we get tired of it, and then we start to look for other seasoning brands, and that's what we do with third-party plugins. Saturn, Decapitator, Black Balls, those are all different flavors. They all do the same thing, and they might do it better or worse depending on context. But again, at the end of the day, get good at turning that drive. Don't overdo it, because you can. With great responsibility comes great power. It's the other way around. But cue the guy that's about to kill me, and you guys go on that journey to avenge my death. Go on the hero's arc and make sure that you get your drums to sound fat. Now, if you guys want to support the channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. You can find all of my sound design work. And if you want to continue your knowledge forward, consider checking out this video where I talk about how I made epic afterlife synths, anima, argy, how to get the beefy sound, a lot of EQ, more things to learn. Much love. Take care.